I think that's my cue. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Whole Magazine podcast with your host, Brandon Cox.
I might be able to pull some magical miracles with his audio in Adobe
It's going to be
Audition.
horrible quality.
I will work my magic. I'm just glad I can get you on a separate audio track.
This is me on a $20 headset.
Oh,
Man, when you really say 20, it really does try hard to prevent you from saying 20.
It really does. It's like
It was like $2,000.
2,000.
This is so worth it. Okay,
It's
welcome.
I have a $500 headset, but it's not for computers.
Mm-hmm. How about that? How about
that? Let's go and do some updates. Walker is no longer here physically with us, but we'll see how his voice comes out.
He died, and we uploaded his conscience onto the computer.
We'll see what his voice sounds like.
Headset.
We'll see what his voice sounds like in post. But he is now currently in flight school. Over in. Do you want them to know the state? Or
no.
Okay.
I didn't even want them to know flight school, really, but
he's doing things.
He's playing Flight Simulator.
That was his inside joke, because everyone loves inside jokes on podcasts, the public. He's he has expensive headphones for a reason, for a certain type of school. Redacted. We were supposed to have Hayes on.
Batteries just for noise canceling.
We were supposed to have Hayes on, and I hope that he decides to watch this or listen to this episode. And then, actually, Hayes is the one YouTube listener that we have.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he prefers to listen on YouTube, and the analytics for that show like maybe a handful of people.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, so Hayes, if you're listening to this, shame on you.
Hi, Hayes.
I hope you received your package. Hey folks, for a limited time, you should probably head over to this shop. We just launched a bunch of new merchandise. We have hoodies. We have a fucking awesome t-shirt that's coming in 3 colors right now. As well as all the old stuff. And to celebrate this occurrence, use code NUKE at checkout for 20% off of your purchase.
And how do you spell nuke?
NUKE. Use NUKE to get 20% off. That is taxes, and if you live in a state that's like 8%, that's tax and a little bit extra. Takes off some of your shipping costs as well. As a nice little thank you for joining us on today's episode. And of course, that offer is going to be good until the end of May. So yeah, make sure you guys go ahead and use that, because otherwise it's not going to last long, folks. It's not going to last long. It goes by too quick. But yeah, diving into the bullshits. We don't necessarily have an alcohol review, but I will tell you some alcohol-related stuff that I did pick up. I picked up a bottle of 2022 Merlot at the Commissary for $8. Merlot's nice. I like Merlots.
I'll tell you that the liquor store down the road is absolutely overcharging for Reunite Lambrusco. Because I used to, when I was in Germany, before they put flowers on the label, so it became gay to purchase, I would go in, about a 1.5 liter bottle. It was $7.99. This is at the PX, though, right? So it's American prices. And then now I go down to the liquor store, and the big bottle's $11.99. And it has flowers on it, so it's also gay to buy.
Wow. That's rough. I do say, $8 for, shit, anything below $15 on my book is pretty damn good for a wine. And Merlot is in my opinion, we tried the Cabernet, right? We tried the Cabernet on the last episode. Yeah, it was very good.
It was.
You know what? This might be one of the situations where I think we've done this one before. We definitely did a Josh Cabernet because it's just so cheap. Yeah. So we definitely probably did that one, but it was nice to revisit and try it in a different way, properly prepared, letting it breathe into decanter for like 4 to 5 hours in a fridge, and it turned out amazing.
It was
very good.
If we're gonna do alcohol reviews and we're gonna do wine, if you remember that winery that made the muscadine wine, you could order some of that, and I could order some of that, and we could do that long distance.
Yeah, that would not be a bad idea.
Not the muscadine wine, because I think we've already done that, but something else
for sure. Yeah, send over the details.
There's specialty wines as well as literally just their assortment of wines.
Yeah, the interesting thing is we did try, and I'm kind of sad. I forget what episode it was when we tried Heritage distillery stuff, right? Had those little sample bottles of like the
Mhm.
vodkas and whiskeys. I was actually so disappointed that they weren't like as good as I was hoping. Because if you look at their storefront, it's
I mean,
very
it's whiskey from Washington. It's from the wrong part of the
it's a
country.
whiskey from Washington. How good can it possibly be?
Yeah, it's from the wrong part of the country for it to be good.
Yeah. You know what? I think they did the college try, and I'd say they got a C. They made a not
I
very
would say B.
it was the ginger of whiskeys. It lacked any soul. It was a whiskey trying to be a better whiskey. And for
It was a B-tier
$45
whiskey. Now, for the price, it was
for
not good.
$45 a bottle, I think 45 and upwards, I think it was like $50. That starting price was too much for that caliber of whiskey. That made 0 sense to me. That
It was
was
kind of too simple.
too simple, nothing really going on. The vodkas were pretty interesting. That habanero one was pretty neat. That would be great in a Bloody Mary. I think we kind of concluded on. I think there was another one like this hibiscus one. But that was sort of
syrup.
Yeah, it was very cough. It was exactly like cherry cough syrup. You're right. Yeah, these I can't help but try and find new stuff. But I think this Merlot, Merlots are to me a little bit darker, a little bit more broody of a wine. I think more deeper of flavor than your Cabernets and Pinots. So that'll be fun to try. We'll probably try that next episode.
The worst part now about doing this over distance is I can't read the bottle. That was my job. I can no longer read the bottle.
If you get what we're getting in your local area, then that could still be possible.
Just send pics.
That's in the budget, honestly.
Just send pictures. See if
you
got the same
buying
one.
$8. Oh yeah, it's not in the budget. The man who literally probably spends, if I were to be a little wizard fucking finance advisor, probably spends hundreds of dollars maybe on alcohol a given quarter.
That was before.
Oh, you're not drunk now? Silence. Thank you. Thank you. Look.
Silence says so much.
Alcohol now doesn't mean.
Listen.
that
Okay,
it's
I'm on a very strict budget now. Okay, I'm going to school. Very expensive school.
At the end of the month, there was leftover money in the budget.
Very expensive school. I go in the sky. You don't.
A little bit.
You're less than me. You come over here. You talk shit. Talk shit about my alcohol consumption.
$300 a day to go to flight school. Do you think I have money to just go and buy $40 bottles of whiskey?
So what are you drinking then? What are you drinking then? As if you wouldn't really possibly finish the bottle in that day or the week.
Coffee.
You buy coffee now?
I'm drinking coffee.
So do you just steal your alcohol now?
Sometimes I convince my wife to let me get a bottle of vodka.
How can you beg for me? Can you beg?
Please, I've been a good boy.
Please, I've been such a good boy.
Please,
I need it.
No, but she has a whole spreadsheet, and it's like, hey, we have like $30 left over. Guess what?
Nice. Nice. And she just tosses you pennies, and you're like, please, master, more.
That's what happens because I'm going to flight school like as full time as I can because the weather kind of sucks. But
I have but 2 pence.
I have.
I'm not
2 pence.
I'm not working basically, so I can't just be like, yeah, we're gonna go spend $300 a month on whiskey.
Yeah. So, it's the sad reality of things, isn't it? But once you are done with it and you get a nice job, you're gonna be buying everything. You're like, you walk into a fucking like Bevmo or a Total Wine, say, yeah, your whole whiskey aisle, it's mine.
A pilot that drinks isn't a pilot.
Put it in my plane. I parked it in the parking lot. I'm gonna fly it back.
Yeah, imagine
to my house. Where do you live? 5 minutes from here.
So I've seen some memes of Taylor Swift, and it's like how Taylor Swift grabs a bottle of water at 9. This is a plane crash in the kitchen.
What was that meme from? I never understood that.
It's because they say because like Taylor Swift is like really big and popular, has too much power for one person, and she just travels everywhere.
It tracks her flight and measures the carbon emissions in tons.
Yeah,
but it's like multiple tons of carbon for one airplane flight, and there's no way.
No, it is terrifying.
A ton of carbon out of 300 pounds of fuel. There's no way that that's happening.
Oh, but it is. it's
No,
happening.
I mean I don't know how big her jet is, but I'm assuming it doesn't have more than like 200 gallons. I don't think that's a ton of carbon or multiple tons of
That
carbon.
does that even math?
I mean, you
No,
could look it up. Like, there's like a video of like her track path,
it's a
and
gallon of gas weighs like
Because
6
you
or
can
7
take
pounds,
the
depending on
molar,
the type.
you can take the molar weights of things, but I don't know. That seems kind of sketch.
Yeah, and not all of the gas is carbon. And then you add the oxygen from the air to it. There's no way.
I think it's a crock of shit.
I think people are just
I think they just throw out a number
brains.
that sounds scary. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you,
It's also like
you.
the we can get into something kind of political. The snipers at college campuses.
what?
Oh, oh,
People are freaking
yeah,
out about that. It's like if you've paid attention, anything that you've gone to that has a gathering of multiple hundreds of people, look at the roof. There's a sniper. It's
yeah.
been like that for as long as they've been alive, mainly because of terrorism.
Yep.
So
With
they're
especially
not.
now, like, hey, Hamas supporters, because that's what you are. You guys want to hide behind the guise of saying you're supporting Palestine. And if you are an American and you have no ties to that country whatsoever, country, quote unquote, um, you are why the electoral college is a thing. You are a absolute buffoon. You are a sheep that is following a wolf into the forest. You are literally dumb. You are literally dumb. You are straight up retarded. If you are in this country and you are shouting
You said the
praise
R word.
and support for Hamas, I'm not on Twitch. Praise and Hamas, praise for Hamas and Palestine, but you code it and you just say the Palestine part. By the way, folks, if you don't know, Palestinian civilians or citizens voted Hamas, a legit terrorist organization, into power. Okay, this isn't news. That is what they did. And now they are facing the consequences of it. I think, personally, Israel has all of the reason
Have you heard
to
that
go and carpet bomb the entire Gaza Strip.
Have you heard that Palestinians are actually kind of like protesting to like tear down religious structures?
Yeah, because it's actually really, this is the thing.
It really makes my blood
Terrorists are really good at propaganda, is what we're seeing. They always have been. But look at
Yeah,
this now,
yeah.
where they're literally converting people who are in the United States of America. Imagine for a moment that this
Well,
is,
it's realistically the issue that really exists is that they view the Jews as white people and they hate white people. So they think that they're colonizing is the Israeli
Yeah.
or the
well,
former
if you think about it this way too, is
Palestinian province of the Roman Empire. And so they just don't like white people. So it's literally just
you also think about it this way. They also just hate the West. They hate all that it stands for. So
well, you're
Yeah.
saying basically culture and you're saying Europeans basically. When you say the West, that's Europeans.
Europeans,
people.
the United
They don't
States,
like Europeans.
Canadians, the West, the Western civilization.
Yeah, Europeans, white people.
We have literally people in Columbian University, right?
Mhm.
These, I'm gonna call them what they are. They're very close to being just terrorists. Blocking access to locations, dormitories, commons, classes of Jewish students.
It's not just Jewish students, but just white students.
They're blocking
yeah.
access to these things, and these are quote unquote, these guys are just protesting. The universities are facing a lot of pressure. I think Columbia University finally actually let people do their job, so police came in and everyone's throwing up their arms. Liberals are like, oh, but the freedom of speech, freedom of speech. It's like, well, no, they're breaking the law because now they're trespassing. So yeah, you can say whatever you want, but there's time and place things. And that's a funny thing is people don't understand what public really means. Like, oh, but it's a public mall. It's like, no, it's private property. Like, it is owned by somebody and they have the right to block you from it and trespass you. So like, like you can't go into, like, they always have some of the signs, that says you can't have a firearm or weapons inside the thing. They can't arrest you for it. Right?
Yeah.
You can just ask people to leave. And that's what they do.
Yeah.
So, but it's a public space. They can free speech. Blah 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 blah. It's like, well, no. Like, there's something called time and place. So, like, if you're in a
Well, it's
public
not about
park,
what they're saying. It's about the fact that even so, you can go in public, but you can't ruin other people's access to public. So you can say whatever you want, whenever you want. But if something is like literally public, so you go to a public institution, like a public university, right? You can't occupy the public area and keep other people out because that's not your right. But you can say whatever you want.
yeah. But as
And then if
a
you're in a private, we said a public mall, right? I'm assuming you mean mall in the sense of like a big shopping center.
yeah, this is the thing.
That's
This is
private.
This is the
That's a
people.
private.
This is what people throw out there, and this is what people call it. It's it's public mall. Oh, it's a public park. You can protest in a public park, sure, but you probably need a permit in most cases.
It belongs. Well, you shouldn't. That goes against what the Constitution stands for. In my opinion, the Constitution doesn't say you have the right to peaceably assemble as long as you have a permit. It just says
Yeah, it just says you have the right to peacefully assemble.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of stupid things and limitations on these things, but the fact of the matter is in places that are quote unquote public, you still need sometimes cases.
And recently, a lot of people have been
area.
like peacefully assembling to preach a very violent
Death to America, like
Yeah.
they're really yelling.
That's fine. They have the right to
Death to America.
Yeah.
No, you're
They have the
absolutely
right
right.
to spread violent
Yeah.
ideas, but they don't have the right to occupy parts of a public institution and keep other people from using it. That's where.
Well,
they're
no,
getting
they don't have
expelled.
the right
That's why they're
to.
getting expelled.
They don't have the right to call people to violence. And if you want to ask me, Death to America is pretty damn close to calling people to violence.
Yeah.
It's an interesting situation because
I don't
you
know.
have.
The First Amendment, basically, you should have the right to call people to violence.
I mean, I love the Constitution, and I am having difficulty disagreeing with you. Because this is like, this is the greatest document that was ever conceived in this world. This is what makes us not like Australia. This is what makes us not like fucking our evil top hat Canada. This is what makes America America, is this piece of paper that says, no, motherfuckers, like, you can try all you want, but no, like, we have it written in right here, like, these are our rights, you shall not be infringed. Oh, separation of church and state. Those people who say that have no fucking idea, because the concept of the Bill of Rights was that these were inalienable rights given to us by God. So God was ingrained in the beginning of the fucking fabric of the United States.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks, we're a Christian nation. Speaking of,
Well, regardless of that, your rights aren't up for debate anyway. Like, they don't come from the government. They come from, even with the idea of they're endowed by the Creator. Basically, all of the rights that exist anywhere you are. Like, if you are on an island with no access to the outside world and no government above you, all of the rights would, like, well, I mean, there's some weird things in there, like housing troops, and if you are owed more than $20 or you think you are and you take it to small claims court, you can have trial by jury. But basically, like freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, those things just like that just exists with you as a person. Like, if you were to be in the middle of nowhere, you could still say whatever you wanted. You could arm yourself.
It is, on the subject of people saying a bunch of shit, the immigrants, illegal immigrants, illegal aliens,
Yes.
who are fleeing the country and going to places like New York, where you have the mayor of New York crying and saying that this is going to destroy New York after their Democrat.
I thought immigrants made our communities stronger.
That's what I thought
bullshit.
too. I mean, that's what the news had told me.
No.
But no, what we're learning now is it's actually very, very bad. What happened is the New York governor for the state of New York basically was like, yes, come you weak, come you feeble, come live in the land of New York. We want you here. And then the poor mayors of the cities have to actually fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
So New York is in absolute shambles. These immigrants are being stored in 5-star hotels for free on the taxpayers' dollar, which is absolutely amazing. We love that. And these people have the audacity to complain.
Yeah. Have you seen in Ireland they've started burning down migrant centers?
Yeah.
Like they
powerful.
build these massive migrant camps out in these rural communities, and they just
I tell you what, folks. You have in New York, it's a prime example. The amount of audacity and just entitlement that these people are just coming in with is just absolutely astounding. It's mind-boggling. I had to wonder. It's like, is this person serious? Let me see if I can find that video. You can't be serious. These immigrants are coming in. One of them was complaining. They were from a West African country. Was speaking English and was complaining. Of course, not everyone was speaking English, but was complaining that there's not enough translators in New York City for the quick math 500 some odd different languages and dialects just in the West African countries. Complaining. Oh, and also the accommodations aren't up to
their
standards. It wasn't expected to be that. Free stuff. They only get to be there for 3 months and then they have to go find someplace else.
What is it, like a 5-star hotel, a fucking iPhone?
Hey folks,
food.
You can blame your Democratic leaders for this shit.
Yeah.
New York, vote him out. You have the fucking power. I don't know why you're surprised. You voted this fucker in, and here he is. Like, this is your part to do your job, right? Do your job as a citizen, vote the fucker out, and move on with your life. This is what you get. You reap what you sow. Yeah. You reap what you sow. I'm going to try and find this video. Yeah. The craziest part of this consequence of letting people in, for example, with the UK, with the Islamic immigrants, basically saying, Sharia law for UK. I'm sure that some of the, especially from the Middle East, are fleeing from some form of war, right?
Yeah.
Displacement, etc. Right? However, I'm willing to I think most of the time, the percentage is probably higher, of them just fleeing their shitty economy in pursuit of the American dollar or the euro or some Western currency.
Yeah.
Because, especially people fleeing the U.S., because apparently Democratic states just give them a bunch of free shit and then they just turn around and complain, which we're about to hear right now.
sumaye ɗo min soñjino moƴƴa par ce que tawi kadi horu gongol arta e kikiɗe tawa ñamete on a wawatamo ñamude.
And on Ramadan time, we couldn't eat because when you come back for the breaks, the food is no good at all.
Ko ɓe jonata men kon kadi 2 mois a yalta e o 2 mois ɗo timma yalta tawa ko ya ƴettu kadi paykoy koye fof ƴetta bagage ji ma yaha kadi winditoyoɗa ɓe naɓira ma kadi nokkugo hara paykoy koye no jangirde nokkugo.
And they give us 2 months to stay at the shelter, and then you have to go out again with your luggages and the kids and find another place. It's very difficult.
Oh, I'm so sorry that you came to this country and we didn't just continue giving you free shit.
You know what the worst part is?
What?
They're doing this in front of the homeless people.
Yeah. They're doing this in front of homeless people who are.
Here's what we could have done for you.
Here's what. Yeah, exactly. It's the most. It is the most. Hey, this is Democrats for you. This is if you live in a Democratic state, and guess where this is not a problem. Guess where you don't have people on college campuses supporting Hamas and terrorist organizations, calling for violence against Jewish people. Guess where you don't have that shit. Any Republican state. It's magical.
I would say that it's probably happening in a lot of Republican states, but the issue is
no news is coming out of it.
College campuses are filled with
doing their job,
communist infiltrators.
Well, I mean, we would have heard news about that shit. Any of these colleges are coming out. Maybe,
and it's happening still.
There's probably some. At any rate, these colleges are probably doing their job and being like, "You guys got to leave." Which Columbia was legit pressured to do.
Yeah.
I mean, Austin's no real surprise. It's fucking Austin.
Yeah.
Austin's a fucking shithole.
I could vouch for that.
Fucking wild.
And
it's wild.
The bridge that goes across from Memphis to Arkansas.
Okay, so that was
shut down.
Let's see.
In February by pro-Palestinian protesters.
How about that?
In freedom of speech news, which these people don't have, You know what's actually crazy? On the note of the
And
immigrants,
Emory University in Atlanta.
these immigrants are coming in complaining, right? Imagine like that person was complaining that the food during Ramadan in a Christian nation wasn't up to satisfactory. It wasn't satisfactory.
No.
I just don't even try assimilation. Like, I'm not saying get rid of your religion, but like come from the perspective that you are literally going to a completely a different continent with a different culture and everything. And you're coming in here and saying that all this free shit that you're giving me is no good.
Do better.
And the homeless people are still out in the streets looking on, baffled. And we say, don't vote for Democrats. Very simple.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Canada is passing a bill because they have declared a climate emergency. It's a climate emergency, folks. Yep. The voodoo sun demon is coming to get us all, and especially white people. Okay, we're gonna sunburn and we are gonna die. Okay. Yeah, the Canadian Parliament is passing a bill which would make it a criminal offense to say anything good, even if it's factual, about fossil fuels. You're right, folks. If you say something as simple as, well, if you burn natural gas, it's actually cleaner than coal, you can face not only a fine, but also jail time.
Yeah.
Canada is a fake country.
Canada.
So I don't even know why we're talking about this. It's not a real place.
Because this is important news, and this is the problem that we're having, is some of this stuff trickles down. It's the evil top hat. It sort of, that sweat that builds up in the brim trickles down.
I don't think it trickles down. I think it's just what the Democrats want to do.
Pass this bill, which makes it illegal to talk good about climate.
He's Googling, for those of you who can't tell what he's doing, because he's just talking weird.
Yeah.
I'm painting a picture.
Typing.
Yeah, so also in other news too, President Biden wants to do the same thing. Not so much as do the outright just absolutely crazy thing of, saying you can't say certain good things about something even though it might be true. He apparently is in the works of declaring a state of national emergency in regards to the climate as well, which of course, as many of us know during the COVID pandemic, oh no, he said the forbidden words, gives you a little bit of crazy, how would you say, powers as president. It's, what is he going to do? Well, the plan would be to constrict our oil reserves as well as our oil in the ground, our oil extraction industry even more, closing up a bunch of leases, some like hundreds of offshore leases in the Gulf of Mexico where we mine a bunch of oil. So that way we can be more dependent on other nations to get stuff that is literally under our feet. Isn't that magical? We love that for us. It's the most asinine shit I've been hearing. But this is the interesting thing, because we have to think, we are close to an election. What are you doing? Your numbers are already in the fucking shitter as it is. What are you doing?
You're talking about the Canadians?
No. This is now the U.S. What are you doing proposing some sort of climate crisis, climate emergency, so close to an election when you're already deep in the shitter? Do you just not care at this point? Is this just like throw shit at the wall until it sticks so you can just get some last bullshit that you wanted done? It's very, very, very weird. I don't understand that personally. It's Biden had been saying for a while, because apparently that was one of his biggest things that he was running on when he was coming into office, was that he was going to crack down on the climate crisis, blah, blah, blah. Greta Thunberg got really happy. She was excited in her weird Swedishness. She's Swedish, right?
I don't fucking know.
Who fucking knows? Who cares?
I believe
cares?
I believe she is Swedish.
Okay, she is Swedish. Greta Thunberg. So he apparently said that he's practically declared a state of emergency on the border. It's like, you know, emergency kind of elicits things like you should go to the hospital, you should call somebody. And like we've been hearing about the quote unquote climate for ever since I've been alive.
Yeah.
So like we're talking like 3 presidents ago. Like holy shit. What where is it? Where is it? I mean, even the greatest minds, Stephen Hawking said that.
Al Gore said that we would all be dead by now.
Yeah, like all these climate people say that they always just move back the timeline of when shit's gonna hit the fan. And I'm of the opinion of like climate change. Does it fucking matter? Does it? I don't know. I don't think it does. Why? Oh, because one, the United States. Oh, and here's another fun fact. The fucking Canada, the fucking evil fucking sombrero.
What we should really be pushing for
Sombrero.
Yeah, you're looking at me.
We should be
You're
we should
staring
be
at me.
yeah, I am.
for
Yeah.
nuclear energy. If you don't push
Yeah.
for nuclear energy, you don't care about the climate.
If you are a
Anyone who
climate,
pushes for anything other than
if you were
building more nuclear power plants, you don't actually care about the climate.
exactly,
You're actually just a Soviet sympathizer.
exactly. If you are a quote
Like
unquote,
the Green Party unironically used to get its funding from the KGB because they kept the Germans from building nuclear power plants. Like,
if you are a climate cuck, is what I will be calling them now. If you're a climate cuck, and Walker's exactly right. If you do not support nuclear energy, then you're just a fucking buffoon, and you're a tool.
yeah, I can't take you seriously because
and you're a
just
tool,
a useful idiot.
and you don't know anything that you're talking about. If you don't look at nuclear energy as being like this glorious thing that we can take something that can be found in the ground and just like let it boil water from heat that it just gives off because it's radioactive and it's a little spicy, and you don't think that's magical and there's no CO2 emissions, it's literally just fucking steam power, and you don't think that's great, you're an idiot. You're an idiot, and you're just a tool, and you don't even know it.
Like we could just, even if you're worried about safety, we could literally build them in the middle of nowhere.
And that's the funniest part is like
Like-
people always look at Chernobyl, and Chernobyl really was like this huge thing for like big
the
oil.
issue with Chernobyl is that Soviet engineers designed the
Exactly.
reactor.
It is literally just subpar design and maintenance standards.
Like
the only
worst nuclear disaster in American history at 3 Mile Island. like,
Exactly.
you can still go there.
There
because
was
the safety.
no one died. No one died. The president
Yeah.
came by. I was like, oh yeah, that's neat, and then left, and it's fine.
The safety of American reactors is just really good because we didn't decide to design them in a way that would make them explode.
And we have standards for things like this to avoid it. But when you live in communist societies, those kind of get dismissed for cheaper
Just think
things
about
because the
how many
government's in
nuclear
control of everything.
reactors. Like think about how many submarines we have, and then realize we don't use diesel electric submarines. We only use nuclear submarines.
Yeah, but no, nukes are
And
so scary.
There's never, as far as I'm aware, there has never been a nuclear meltdown or any kind of major
Yeah,
nuclear
true.
accident.
Honestly, that would
on
be
an
something-
American submarine.
Something that we would not know.
No, I
Should
think
probably would be locked up.
Well, it's hard to hide it because even the Russians couldn't hide it when the Kursk went down for having some sort of issue.
It's one of those funniest things is that there's something that is like literally right here that is like, oh my God, this will do all the things that you guys want to do. And it's going to be super good. And then Democrats, the climate cucks, all just go.
I actually think we should use slave labor to pull germanium out of the ground, and then
Thorium just has a cooler name. Like I want a thorium reactor. Same principle, but just sounds cooler.
Well,
I think Cade
I think
would get his
using
rocks
slave
off.
labor to mine rare earth
Because
mineral
it said
is a
Thor.
much better.
Thor.
It's much better to use slave labor to mine rare earth.
It's more
minerals
efficient.
than to use nuclear.
It's
Like,
more efficient.
If we may as well just use the oil to make windmill blades instead of
Yeah.
power.
Isn't
It's
that
more
fun?
efficient that way.
That's so
If you
efficient.
use-
Oh, and
if you use a
then
truck
and
that's
then
serving 2 gallons a mile to
Yeah.
move them across the
Isn't
country
that
every 5
great?
years.
and there's 4 of them, and so you have to have 4 separate truck trips to go from the manufacturing plant to go to where the turbine's being built. So
That
much
doesn't even-
efficiency.
That doesn't even get into the mining equipment. That
Nope.
doesn't get into.
Nope. But we can just build
That-
one nuclear reactor and provide a power for, like, I don't know, a state. Like, especially the Midwest. You can have one and it would just cover a whole fucking sector of the Midwest.
Now, the other thing that would be really good to look into is hydroelectric in more areas. However, dams really fuck with salmon.
Well, Washington State relies on 30% of hydroelectric power for its power. So it's very
It
much
really fucks
dependent.
with salmon, so it's not
Yeah.
good.
Well,
And
they've
it
done
does
so
change
much.
the environment.
They've done so much research on how to make it
If you can-
easier and
there-
better for fish to navigate these dams. It's actually very interesting. I've watched a documentary.
It's
Very
still
cool.
bad for
Really?
No, it's bad, but they're making it better. There's actually far less tragedies.
And
And Finding Nemo would be a lot different if they came across a dam. They'd be like, "Fuck," and then Nemo would get fucking scooped up by some bird, like an eagle, bald eagle,
There's
waiting on the top.
Interesting ideas for utilizing like basically waves, which is
Oh,
essentially
yeah.
they call it hydroelectric, but that's basically wind power because the wind
Yeah.
is making the waves.
Yeah,
It's just
I've
not
seen a couple
turbine.
of those Kickstarters, and I've seen a couple of those videos of the
You have the
wave
same issue, though, that,
generation,
like, you're mining rare earth
and then you have to maintain that fucking
metals
thing.
that
That can
are,
go like
like-
also wrong.
to make magnets that these things use, and you're just utilizing slave labor. In
And then
Africa
you're
to do it.
just like, oh, I hope a hurricane doesn't just, I don't know, ruin all of this. That would suck a lot. And imagine how difficult
Well, if you put it
navigating
in the
waters.
Pacific,
Imagine how
There's
difficult that would
actually
be.
Never, I don't think there's ever been a hurricane in the Pacific. Well, North Pacific, because technically, I guess they can cross
Well,
over
they
from
were.
Mexico. But
Yeah, they were-
What do they call them? Cyclones.
They did come by California not too long ago. I think it was within the last couple
Probably
of
a
years.
cyclone, unless the hurricane literally just crossed from the Atlantic to the Pacific, which is possible. But